Ethan, we made it happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on. Oh, and I
Sure.
mean, we speak to each other from the opposite ends of the world.
Yeah, well, not as much, but yes, generally speaking, yeah, we are Australia based, but currently I'm actually not too far from Athens, but don't tell anyone.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, you just doxed
Yeah,
yourself. Don't worry, this isn't a
well, just
live
a
show.
little bit. Yeah. Well, yeah. Delete that bit, but
Well,
yeah,
in the 10-day lag or so that it's going to take to drop this, you'll be somewhere else. So don't worry. People they're going to be
exactly,
10 days
exactly.
behind you.
Exactly. So good luck catching me. But yeah, look, we met a few times in I think in Prague and in Riga, and it's always been great meeting you. And when you reached out, and you wanted to have a podcast with me, I think like a year or two ago, and I was too shy. It doesn't look like it, but I'm a bit shy and timid from having a podcast. But our new CSO, she's on my ass to get more in front of the camera because she says I'm charming. I don't know what she's talking about, but so yeah, so that's why I thought of you first. And I'm happy that my first podcast ever, I think, is with you. So it's a pleasure and an honor.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and for everything that you do in the Bitcoin space. But let's let people know what it is that you do.
Sure. So, well, I do a few things. I'm happy to say. For years, my profile photo was a trident, and the reason that it was a trident is because it was my three prongs attack, and one of them is Bitaroo, which is the one I think I'm more known for. So Bitaroo is Australia's biggest Bitcoin only exchange. Over the last year or two, I think since the ETFs came, we kind of realized that, well, it's a bit of a story, but I think we have time. So basically, I mean, for years, we were all in the Bitcoin community knew that ETFs are coming, and I think I thought so, and I think most of us thought that who's going to use that? We said, oh yeah, the institutions. And then when the ETFs came out, suddenly Zoomers are using it, and Boomers are using it, and many individuals are using it. It's like it's way easier. I mean, they just want exposure to the price. So they already have some Robinhood or something similar, and they just use that. So it's super easy. They don't need to deal with the seed and custody and KYC and all of those things. So suddenly, like we realized that ETFs are actually a bit of a threat. They're eating our lunch. Because retail are important. So we started thinking, okay, what can we do? So we start doing things that you cannot do with ETFs. For example, you can pay your bills now, with through Bitaroo, with using Bitcoin. You could load a debit card, with Bitcoin and get dollars and start spending that. You could use our Vault services. You could use our Guardian services. So we started launching more and more services that are not exactly exchange, but there are things you could do with Bitcoin that you couldn't do, with ETFs. So that's the kind of, and then recently, very recently, only I think last week, we announced that we're going global. So now you can just go to your app, to and just download Bitaroo and immediately start sending and receiving Bitcoin KYC free. If you want, to actually buy Bitcoin from us, then there is KYC. We're rolling it out to more and more countries. I mean, currently we're available in 170 countries for the send and receive Bitcoin bit. And currently on in Australia to buy Bitcoin, but hopefully we're going to change that soon. So that's the main thing I think that I'm known for. Another thing that I was involved until very recently is the Australian Bitcoin industry body. So a couple of years ago, I think it was like 5 years ago, the crypto industry body in Australia invited me to attend a meeting with Austrac, our regulator. And I was surprised, like, why is a crypto industry body inviting me to their meeting? And I started asking questions, and they said, "Oh, we have these meetings with Austrac, once or twice a year." And I was like, "Why are we not having these meetings?" So I went to the meeting and I asked questions, and I got kicked out of that meeting twice. That was fun, but I
They
came back,
kicked you
of
out.
course.
That
Oh yeah, twice because somebody that didn't like my questions, somebody on the crypto industry side didn't like my questions. So they kicked me out, but I came back in and kept asking questions. So basically, I got kicked out twice, but I went back, three times in. So eventually, I finished the meeting. But one of the questions I asked Ostrak was, "Why are you not having these meetings with us? We are your members." And they said, "Oh, it's common practice for a government agency to hold meetings with the industry bodies, not directly with the members, and the industry bodies are the one inviting the members." we're like, okay, but none of the Bitcoin, we have Australia is very fortunate to have a five. I think at the time there was six, but now there are five Bitcoin exchanges. So none of us were members, of course, of the crypto industry body, and that's when I realized that we need to open one. We need to open the Australian Bitcoin industry body, which we did. So three of us, became the first, board members. We co-founded it. I think now there are, as I said, 6 or 7 members. Most of them are exchanges, some are not, but they are like Bitcoin only companies, except only Bitcoin for their services, and many sponsors, and even Cobra, from Bitcoin.org was very kind to offer his support. So we have like global support from from Bitcoin.org. Which is very emotional for me. It's very sentimental. It's probably the better word. And now it's without me. Like I left. I was the director for the first 3 years and the CEO for most of it. And then I left. I'm just a member now. Bitaroo is just a member now, and I'm very happy to say that it's thriving. Bayani and the team are now handling it, and it's thriving, and it's cool because in my speech when I left, I said that what I'm hoping is that in a few years people are going to say, oh, look at it and how he held us back. We're so much better without him, and that's exactly what's happening. So I'm very, very happy that they're reaching new highs. And another thing I'm involved with is the Bitcoin Moon Fund, and that's Australia's first Bitcoin charity. With the goal of advancing Bitcoin education. So we support or donate to either Australian Bitcoin educators or to overseas charities with a similar purpose. So a very good example is Bitcoin Akazi in Africa. So basically they're finding something worth, doing like, a new laptop for their graphic designers or a skating ramp, where we teach, there's like, lightning invoices there. And anything to do with education, they find a project, we give them the money, they give the money to the project, or they're building it or making it, and everyone is happy. So yeah, that's my 3 prongs attack. Is basically is the corporate, is the industry, and is the charity.
Mate,
that was a very short answer. You're welcome.
Yeah. And we'll dig into all 3 of those prongs, but the one I'm kind of like honing in on at the moment, and I had to Google because you said Austrac, and this is AUSTRAC. So this is the Australian government. What are they, like a regulatory body that keep an eye on all of you dark psychopathic tetrads that are running around their beautiful island and laundering digital internet geek money? They just need to keep an eye on you.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. Well, look, they're basically regulating the gambling industry, the bank, not too much the banks, but a little bit something to do there as well. Bullions, metals, everything to do with exchanging fiat money for something else. So they're involved with anti-money laundering, counter-terrorism funding. All of that stuff. Look, we're meeting with them, and actually meeting with them is great. I enjoy our meetings. I mean, we don't agree, of course, on many things, but I think we have, in our minds, I think we all have the same goal. I mean, I'm telling them that, we wake up in the morning and we want to make the world a better place. So we just disagree on the way to do it. So they think that by more regulation and by more scrutiny and by more watching everyone, they will get their goals. We think that that's just basically treating everyone as a criminal, unless proven otherwise. And we disagree with that. But the best thing I think in those meetings, I think we are making a small dent when we're talking to them. For example, they stopped using the terminology of non-custodial because and they started using self-custodial instead. So little things like that. They are, after every meeting with us, they are saying that they are hearing from us different things that they're hearing from the crypto guys. There are more things now in motion. Always there are more things in motion from the Australian government. For example, they want to start having financial services license for Bitcoin and crypto exchanges, and they admit, that it's not a financial product, but they still want to treat it and regulate it as if it is. And we're saying, look, we're going to save you the trouble because you're creating a strange hybrid. We're saying crypto is a financial product. Just treat it as a financial product. Bitcoin is not. It's very, very simple, but they're not in that place here where they're putting things in different basket. They only put NFTs in a different basket and privacy coins, like Monero, but all the rest for them is one basket. And we're like working to, to educate them and to kind of push the idea that, you should look at them in different baskets. And then you will find that all of them are, different shapes of scams or unregistered securities or financial products. And Bitcoin is not. So just treat it differently, and you solve all your problems. So obviously that's not something that they hear from the crypto guys, but they hear it from us. So we're hoping that that will kind of help as well. Yeah, look, I mean, definitely. I mean, KK. I mean, I don't. I think KYC is wrong. I like giving the example. Giacomo had a great speech. In one of a great talk in one of the conferences, and it really like made me think. And I think I found a good example where, imagine that I have a petrol station, and you're coming, with your car to fill it up, and I'm saying, wait, before I give you my petrol, I have to, run your ID, run everyone in the car, check your car, make sure where are you going, where did you come from, what are you going to do with this petrol? Because I don't want to find stuff. I don't want to help you, do terrorist attacks. So once you think about like that and you think that's ridiculous, then that's basically what's happening when you come to me to buy Bitcoin. And there's more issues there. I mean, for example, there is KYC needed with Bitcoin in Australia from the first cent. Where you can buy gold after $5,000 up to $5,000 with no KYC. You can gamble and win $5,000 a day with no KYC. So they're putting thresholds on gambling and on bullions, but metals, but not on Bitcoin. And that's something that we can't get our head around it. And at least we're trying to push for that as well. So basically, I mean, part of my friends, we're giving them shit, where we can, but in a nice way, in a way that hopefully something trickles through. And I think it does. We are very fortunate to have like some good people there, and I think that's maybe the best thing of meeting them is to realize that like Ostrak is maybe sounds like faceless body, but there are good people there, and the people do try to stop the same thing that we want to stop. I mean, we don't want financial crime. We're hearing the stories of people getting frauded. We don't want any of that. So we were on the same kind of page on the goals that we want to achieve. Just the methods are very, very different.
Oh, what timing, hey? What, the last 48 hours, the Trump coin, like, just basically from what I can see, smashing any kind of rule, regulation, policy, law, whatever you want to call it, with regards to insider trading, nepotism, and conflict of interest. All three wrapped up in one. And especially with the players that are advising him. And I wrote a tweet thread about this, and it's gone absolutely crazy. I guess the crypto guys are picking up on it and tweeting around as well. So it is good to hear that when you speak to these people, because, and well done, right? I want to say that, first of all, well done for getting in front of them, because it's not for me, man. I tell you, getting in front of these people, I have a strong aversion, and I take my hats off to everybody that is doing that work. Like you have the Bitcoin policy guys in the US, and you have them now in the UK. Yeah. Susie Ward and Freddie New and everybody else there that's involved with that do go to these meetings. Like, they go to these meetings and they get in there shoulder to shoulder with the crypto and fiat bros. That literally, and here's the other thing, the crypto bros, what they're doing, the real scammers behind that, they don't show their face. They hire people. They're going to hire a CMO. They're going to hire a CEO. They're going to hire a CFO. They're going to hire a COO with all of this venture capital freaking money that they're getting funded with. They've got tens of millions of dollars to spend. So they go and make this look as legit as possible. And then they send in the CFO to the meeting to hold that meeting. And that's just a man or a woman who has a job, who doesn't know the real history behind, has just got hired on a half decent salary, trying to put food on their kitchen table. And they go into these meetings with probably the best of intentions, like you say. We've got a great product here. We're going to change the world. That there's something of value to this coin project, whatever. without actually understanding what's really under the hood. So for you to be there and rubbing shoulders with them and asking questions, the tough questions, and getting thrown out for doing that, that's huge, mate. Honestly, that there,
Yeah.
I would look. Maybe I need to face my own fears and aversions and get in there and start doing this stuff as well. But I think it takes a certain personality. I mean, we're all different, right? This is why this is specialization, right, of skill sets and division of labor within the Bitcoin space. So yeah, excellent. Have you in those meetings and when you're facing these people and you're listening to the conversations, have I pretty much summed it up, or have you ever come across that one particular like, oh, like this guy is just here to scam?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for for your kind words. When we first launched, Abib, many Bitcoiners were against it because they thought, oh, we're going to cooperate with the government, and we said no. I mean, by not being there, we're actually leaving the entire floor to the crypto pros, and that's all the government hears, and that's exactly what happened, And once we are there, and then they're hearing different things, and it just gets better because more and more branches of government are now contacting Abib, directly. For example, the Attorney General, and they want to do things, and they kind of want our feedback. So and they know they're going to get a very different feedback than if they're going to ask the crypto industry. So yeah, look, I'm not maybe not the greatest personality to do it. I don't have a lot of patience for things I disagree with. For me, it's very easy to just say there, have fun saying poor, fuck off, and that's it. Apologies for the profanity. Please feel free to bleep this out. But it's very easy for me to do it. But the thing is, like, look, sometimes I did get into somebody got into my face, and mainly from the crypto. And I agree with you. I mean, if you take a normie and you just like tell him, this is the product. He's, oh, that's exciting. That's great. You have to have some deeper understanding to understand that, like, crypto is a scam. And many of them don't have it. So they do come with the good intentions. But, in the crypto industry, I mean, I spoke with a few people, like high ranks, even CEOs, of the crypto exchanges, and they know that crypto is a scam. I mean, they are Bitcoiners, they have only sats, they do it with the intention of, they're going to take their profits and buy sats with it. That's they just give the market what the market wants. They're playing very innocent, but they know that this is bollocks. So they're definitely doing it for greed. And I think in that book, the blockchain, the block size wars. I mean, the most greatest thing for me in that book was that he said that the good thing that happened is that all the greedy people went for the crypto, and all the ideology people stayed with Bitcoin. And suddenly that for me was the first thing that was, oh, crypto, that's really good. I mean, I'm happy there is crypto now because it took away all the greedy people, So if you run a Bitcoin only business, then you're obviously an ideologist, because otherwise, why not add some more, crypto to it and make more money, and buy sats with it? It's very, very easy. It's the path to the dark side, very, very easy. So we're going to those meetings, and we're telling them what we think, and as I said, like, Bayani is now the CEO, and he's mostly meeting with them, and I think he's doing a great job because he's saying things in a more, I think, in a way that they understand better than when I say it. But the idea is the same. We just like we tell them what we think. I even had like one-on-one meetings with some of the Austrac people, and they understand more, but they're all also clogs in the machine, because the way that it works is, there is this global entity called FATF, and they give recommendations, and they're giving like mafia style recommendations, because their recommendation is like, we recommend that you do that. You don't have to, we cannot oblige you, but if you don't do it, then we put you in the blacklist, and then nobody is going to deal with you, as a country. So Australia is, for example, now making changes to its policies because, or else, like travel rule is a great example. Travel rule, even if nobody in Austrac supports the travel rule, Austrac has to do it, because or else Australia is going to be put on the blacklist. So Australia is very, very late to the travel rule because we still have time with Austrac, but with the FATF, but the time is running out. So soon travel rule will apply in Australia. And this is not a question of if. The only way that travel rule will not apply in Australia is only if FATF will change their minds, which is not where obviously FATF is going. They're going into more and more surveillance and more scrutiny. And we're already telling Austrac where the future is going. We told them, look, in the future, they're going to start saying that KYC exchanges will not be allowed to withdraw to self-custody wallets. And Ostrich telling them, no, that's not going to happen. I say, okay, let's see. And if that will happen, then Ostrich would say, oh, these guys are not just, crazy, conspiracy theories. They actually see a bit where this is going. So hopefully Ostrich is right, and this was not where this is going, but I think it is where this is going. And I think we have like a few more years before this will happen. So, definitely, everyone I think should have everything. Most people should custody unless they're really, really, very non-tech savvy, and then they should get somebody that they trust, I think, to help them. But I think, having a mix of KYC and non-KYC coins is always good. Not for the reason that many people think. I mean, people think, oh, non-KYC means I don't have to pay taxes. I mean, that's not why I'm thinking. I'm thinking just non-KYC means that only you know what you have, and then it's up to you, and if you're a sovereign individual and you do you, and nobody can later if you want to do something that's like, oh, you cannot withdraw to that wallet, well, you have your KYC free coins where you can do it. So I think it's more about that than anything else. And yeah, look, we just do what we can, basically, and I think we're all doing, and I agree with you, everyone has different skills, but the reason I haven't done podcasts for all these years is because I said a few times with legacy media. That's the thing. I've been traumatized 20 years ago or so, where I said a few interviews with legacy media, and then I saw the article, and this is not what I said, or they took one stupid sentence and made a headline of it, and I said, you know what? I usually don't say never, but I say I'll be very surprised if I'll ever do an interview again. And for 20 years, all these I didn't. And only recently I realized that podcast is different, because if somebody takes one sentence I said here and uses it against me, I tell him, and listen to the whole thing, you'll get the context. It's not exactly what I meant. And if I did, then we can talk about it. But so I think it's a bit different. So I'm facing my fears. Maybe you would like to face yours and do go to speak, with the UK or other government. And they're good people. I mean, many of them are good people. I mean, they're normies and they're blue pills and all that, but they are good people, and they do want to make a change. And if they and some of them are taking pay cuts. They could get more money in the private sector, but instead they're doing government work because they think that they're helping the public. So I think it's just a matter of orange peeling them and talking to them, and even if you delay some bad processes by a year, okay, you gave us a year, thanks for that. So I think anything travel rule, for example, in Australia, as I said, it's because I think it's because of one guy in Austria that just doesn't like the travel rule, and he just delays it as much as possible. And thanks to him, Australia doesn't have a travel rule yet, while other countries already do. So sometimes one person makes a big difference.
Do you want to just explain exactly what the travel rule is, in case people are listening and scratching their heads and not up to speed on what you're talking about?
Sure. So, the easiest way to think of it is with a bank, because banks implement already travel rules. So if I send you money, from my bank account to yours, then you or your bank, don't only get, X amount of pounds and that's it. You also get, it came from this account number, from this account holder. Sometimes there's more information, like even the address of the account holder, and it came from this bank. And there's there's information that travels with the money. It's not just money magically appears in your account and you don't even know from where. So banks are able to actually look at it and say, oh, why is Ethan sending Daniel money? Oh, he's sending it from overseas. Okay, maybe that's more suspicious. So there's all this information that they can do something with it. Now, what FATF wants, and what is already implemented, I think across Europe and many other places, is they want to do the same for crypto. Now, I'm not very, I'm not familiar with how crypto works, to be honest, but I know about Bitcoin, and I told them, I told them straight up, you cannot do this with Bitcoin. You cannot send with the transaction, say, oh, this came from, Ethan, that's not going to work. So this, no, don't worry. We're going to build a parallel system. So basically, when an exchange, the idea is like this: when an exchange is going to get, a Bitcoin transaction from a different exchange, it's going to know it's coming from a different exchange. Then it's going to go to that parallel system and says, oh, it came from that exchange and from this user. Oh yeah, John is depositing John, or somebody else, Sarah is depositing John. Okay, why is Sarah now depositing to John account on Bitaroo? So they have all these ideas, and we're very strongly against it, because we're saying you're just centralizing everything. You're going to give all the information of all the Bitcoin exchange, all the Bitcoin crypto exchange around the world to one entity, I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, this is exactly opposite of what we want. So I can tell you, that Bitaroo has plans on how to not deal with this situation, and our idea, and I'm any other Bitcoin exchange that listens to it, is free. Hopefully they will implement the same. Even we're gonna do something very simple. We're gonna say, look, because basically we need to follow it when we're the one that are sending the coins out, and we need to send information out. It less matters, when the funds are coming in. So we're gonna do something, check and say if you're trying to withdraw to a different exchange owing to the travel, no, not allowed. You can only withdraw to self-custody. Self-custody, there is no travel rule. Then from your self-custody, send it wherever you like. We don't care. We're not looking at it. So this is going to be our way of dealing with the travel rule, because we don't want to give all our users information, to some unknown company. I mean, basically, we're talking like chain analysis kind of style company that's going to have all the Bitcoin and transactions around the world of all the KYC exchanges in one place where they could see exactly that Bob sent to Alice and how much and all. This is just like nuts. This is very apocalyptic to us. But the way that they're looking is, we're going to stop crime. They're not stopping crime. I asked them, how much crime did you stop? They don't know. They don't know. So basically, the idea is just to govern more and more, harder and harder, until I don't know, until what happened, until 1984 happens. I mean, and when we're telling it out loud, we're telling them, I mean, you're creating 1984. Is this what you want? Is this the world you want to live in? And they say, it's not exactly like that. But this, we're putting it on the table. It's on the protocol that we did say that this is what they're doing. So that's the travel rule, basically. So that's our way of how we plan to deal with it when it comes, where we're just not gonna, legally we're not gonna comply because we won't need to, because we'll just say, look, you're trying to withdraw to another exchange? No, you can only withdraw to yourself, to self-custody.
Interesting. An interesting angle as well to get more people self-custodying their Bitcoin.
Oh, look, Vault is a great example. I mean, the Bitaroo Vault, is something where we're telling people, look, if your account is dormant, which means you're just like using us as a wallet, you're not buying, you're not selling, you're not doing anything, we're going to move your funds to the Vault. Now, in the Vault, you actually get a Bitcoin address where you can see your coin. So if you have 0.1234, Bitcoin, you can see them on the blockchain, and we're charging for that pleasure. And we did a survey, before we launched it, and we asked people how much you think we should charge, percentage wise. And kind of the consensus was, 0.5% if you want to keep them, 1% if you want, some to leave and some to stay, 1.5%, if you want them to leave. We said, great, we're going to charge 2.1%. So we're charging 2.1% per annum for the pleasure of holding their Bitcoin. And to our shock, we now have more coins in the vault than when we launched. So people are aware of it. Every 6 months, we're sending them an email about it. We're telling them, hey, you have coins in the vault. Hey, we're charging you fees. And they're like, okay. The bigger accounts are paying less fees because the biggest one negotiated with us. And he reached to a point where he's saying, look, I'm willing to pay 0.5%. So it's like, okay, everyone who holds more than, I think, 33, it's on our website, but I think 33 coins and up is going to pay 0.5%. So this guy has with us that many coins, and you think about it. I mean, you take that 0.5% per annum. You know how many hardware wallets you could buy with those fees? But he prefers to just hold it with us. Now some people have a good reason to do it. Maybe they're moving borders. Maybe they're thinking about estate planning. So if something happens to them, just Bitaroo will deal with it, right? Because you'll just give us the will and the estate, and okay, here we go. So they have some use cases that we understand, but why so many people are holding their coins with us, we do not understand. But at least now, we're making, getting fees out of it, and we're showing it to them that it's not paper Bitcoin. It's actually on the blockchain. You can see it. It's not just you have 0.5 coins with us. You can see that 0.5 on the blockchain. So. Where we are very also proud to have our own mempool space instance. So, so all our users, when they click on the reference, or they have actually mempool.bitaroo.net, they don't go to the, to the space. All our servers, obviously we're running our own nodes, So like we're keeping as much information away from chain analysis and their friends, but obviously it's all on the blockchain. So and many times, by the way, chain analysis is wrong. We're getting sometimes from police and from other entities, we're getting like requests for information based on a TX ID, and they're telling us this is your address. It's like no. So chain analysis said yes. Well, I'm telling you no, it's not. They're wrong. So like I think their success rate with us is like 70% of chain analysis. So they promote themselves as 100% or 90 something percent, but with us at least it's closer to like 70ish%, I think. They're just wrong. They're just giving wrong address, and they're saying, oh, this is part of our cluster, part of our wallets, but it's not. So a lot of fun to be had. Oh, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun. I mean, I'll tell you something else. I always like talking about this. People are concerned that exchanges don't have full reserve. I'll tell you something. Many exchanges have zero reserve. Zero. You know why? Because they don't hold their own coin, the user's coin. They give it to BitGo or some other company. That's zero reserve. Zero. This is like, for me, this is like mind blowing, but like people don't get it. It's like, oh, okay, so they give it to BitGo. So what? Like, what? Like all the coins are with BitGo. There's nothing with that exchange. That BitGo goes bust or gets frozen or hacked, it's all gone. Nothing to do with the exchange that you trust and know. So obviously we don't do that. We self custody. We have everything, multi-sigs and all that, and several, and I'm not touching them because I'm the pretty face, So, but it's all very, it's very Bitcoin basically. That's what we are. 100% of the team are Bitcoiners. Nobody works in Bitaroo is not a Bitcoiner. And I mean, obviously, Bitcoin only, not like a crypto enthusiast that also likes Bitcoin and supports shitcoins. So very toxic and a lot of fun for everyone, I think.
Excellent. So this is something that I used to talk with Obi about, Obi Nwosu, because he ran CoinFlow, not crypto exchange, the Bitcoin exchange in the UK. And he went.
You want to delete that bit, maybe?
Yeah. Well, in fairness to Obi and his other founder, you could buy Ethereum on there as well up until the end of 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Then Obi took it Bitcoin only. And they always insisted on full proof of reserves, and they would do a monthly audit, and that was completely open and you could see it. And I just cannot believe here we are, 2025, and people are still trusting the fact that these exchanges, it's okay, bro, we have the Bitcoin. When, like you said, at the beginning of this year, the ETFs came out. I can't make these numbers add up. And I've not done a deep dive. I'm just doing back of the envelope math. And I'm like, what? How many a day are being purchased? How much Bitcoin, how much fiat cash is going into the Bitcoin space each day through the ETFs? And where are they buying the Bitcoin from? And who's actually holding that Bitcoin? Or is this just rehypothecation all over the place? Like what are your thoughts on that when you look at that?
Well, the short answer is yes. I think I think it's all happening. Look, I want to touch on the full reserve that CoinFlow used to do. I used to watch it and I had a few thoughts about it. As I was seeing it. Number one, like the people that understand and can verify that everything that is happening are the ones that don't really need it because they're already like self custody anyway. And the people that don't understand have no way of verifying that this is working. So that's why we didn't go for the for what Obi did, like the blanket approach of, oh, here's all our coins, you're moving all of them, which is I think it's also a security issue. I think it's also cost involved. I think there's a lot of things that I'm not sure that it's like the best approach. So we just took, what, let's do something that everyone can verify. I mean, you go to your account, to be your Bitaroo account, and you see that there's like you have 0.4 coins. You can just like click on your vault address and you will see exactly those amount of sats there, so you can verify it super easily. Anyone could verify what's important for them, their own coins, and not just like part of a bigger thing and then find it there. There was some code involved there. I think I think that was a bit as I said, like complicated, especially for the noobs, because most of our users are not Bitcoiners. That's something that I think is important to know. Most of our users are people that bought Bitcoin. They're not what we call Bitcoiners. Bitcoiners, we know what they are, but at the very least, Bitcoiners hold their own coins. and their own keys, and most of our users do not. They just they're buying it because they want the price to go up, and then they want to sell it, or they're waiting for it to moon, or something like that. Our core base, of course, Twitter and so on, are Bitcoiners, but most of our users are like friends of friends of friends, or people that found us online or something. So I think they wouldn't be able to verify all those things. Now, regarding the numbers, I agree with you. I mean, we're looking at it. I mean, we even look at what MicroStrategy is doing. I mean, it's like they hold 2% of all the Bitcoin that we'll ever have, and that's just like mind blowing. And then the ETFs hold another, I think, like almost 2%, like 1 point something. So it is weird how the price didn't moon already. Look, there are dodgy things happening. I think that people underestimate derivatives. With one coin, I can trade. Well, if I'm a degen, I can trade as if it's 100 coins. But let's say if I'm more conservative, with one coin, I can easily trade as if it's 5 or 10 coins. And by doing that, I can push the number up or down. And just because as if I have 5, so suddenly you just like look 5x, which is kind of conservative in the derivative space. 5x, that means that there's 100 million bitcoins and not 21 million, and that's a big difference. So I think like if you're pushing the price here and then you're buying it here and then you're using the coin that you bought to lend it again to somebody else, and this is what is happening a lot, and some of it are happening just like out there in the open. Give us your coin, stack your coin with us, we'll give you 2%, then we're going to lend it to somebody else who's going to use it for derivatives for 6%. So we make 4%, and now he's trading with that one coin as if it says at 5 or 10 coins. So I think these things have a lot of influence on the market, but eventually, look, gold was manipulated, or it still is probably, but it was like, proven it was manipulated for years. The only difference, or the big difference here, is that we can stop this, manipulation very, very easily just by withdrawing. If you self-custody it, nobody can play with that coin. Nobody can play with that coin. So I think more people will do that, the better. Look, even, Saylor and MicroStrategy, they're holding it with BitGo, I think. Maybe with somebody else as well, maybe also with Coinbase or somebody else. But a lot of the companies around the world love holding with BitGo and with Coinbase Trust, because they are American, regulated, heavily regulated entities, audited, all that. So for me, it's a black box. I don't know what's happening there. I mean, I don't know what happens with the coins that go to those entities. Are they being used by traders? Are they not? Are just sitting in some, multi-sig, wallets? I don't know. I don't think the people that even put their coins there know. I don't know if they actually have an XPub to those wallets. So I don't know if they can see everything. So to me, this whole thing is a black box, and that could explain some of it. But look, eventually, it's just a matter of time. I mean, right? Because the more that we hold in self-custody, the more eventually there will be less coins to play with. The number will go up, and the fact that it's taking, let's say, longer than we thought because of MicroStrategy and nation states and ETFs. That's better for us, right? I'm still buying. I hope that you're still buying. So great. So we're getting cheap sats. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I did the math. We have this. I have my belt buckle. Also says that I got it from a friend of mine. It says everything divided by 21 million. And I thought about this. What does everything mean? So everything means like all the assets in the world. Now all the assets in the world, usually we measure them by US dollar because it's like the strongest fiat or the least weak fiat. But when I'm talking to normies about it, I'm telling, do you know how much of the US dollar was printed over the last 5 years? And they're saying no. I say, oh, give me a number. And I thought it's 40%, which is a lot. But apparently it's 80%. So like US dollar, went up like 5x, the amount of US dollar in circulation over the 5 years. This is like mind blowing, right? Because this, currency exists for like 200 plus years. So that's very weird. So, okay, but we're measuring everything by US dollars, So that, which is silly, right? Because it just went 5x, in the last 5 years. So that's weird. So we should maybe, measure it in something else. And then if you're taking everything, like all the assets in the world, estimated, value of it in dollars, divided by 21 million Bitcoin, that is the right price of Bitcoin. Now, according to my numbers, it's like 76 million US dollars a coin. So anything below that, great, cheap. Let's do that. So we have time.
Yeah, shout out to Canute. I love that. Everything
Yes.
divided by 21 million.
Yes.
Yes, and Jesse Croesus, BTC, has done a presentation on this as well and written about it. And that's the slide that Saylor keeps using in his presentation. when he's talking about how he's valuing Bitcoin and how he looks at all of the assets, what are they worth, how many trillions of dollars, divided by the 21 million. It's crazy, mate. And actually, I just checked the price just because we were talking about it. I had no idea that we'd touched new all-time highs overnight. I'm learning that now. $109,358. But yeah, like you said, dollars, priced in dollars. It's coming up forever, Laura, because it's priced in dollars and more dollars are going to constantly enter the system. And if you've not read Gradually Then Suddenly by Parker, then you won't understand why more dollars will enter the system perpetually, forever. So that just means that priced against Bitcoin that has that hard cap, that's as basic as you need to get the math. If you're looking to make an investment, and this is now you're going to get me ranting. The value investors, in air quotes, the guys that study the fundamentals of any investment thesis before they ever part with a dollar. Like, what are you missing? Like, how do you miss this? I don't get it. And it's all the usual shit. Oh, well, it's got no intrinsic value. You're like, oh my goodness, mate. Like it couldn't be simpler. It is so obvious, but yet so many people are oblivious. And anyway, let's stop the moon juice chat. I want to take you back to something that you touched on about you as the head of an exchange, getting tapped on the shoulder every now and then. And again, this is something Opie and I used to talk about. This is something actually that drained him in the end. Were all of these requests from financial authorities or these regulators or policymakers or even just straight up the police, asking him, we need the information on all of these details here. How often does that happen?
Well, it changes. Look, it kind of comes in waves, and also the scamming, is happening in waves, and it's very agile, the way that we treat it. So, for example, what happens, like, we're getting hit by, scam, and then we're saying, okay, what is the commonality? Oh, this is the commonality. Okay, so we're tweaking our system to alert us when they see this, and then we're starting to catch, some of them. Then we're starting to catch too many of them, like innocent people get caught in the net, and then we have to, scale back. So it's a lot of changes like that. And then, in some delay, some of them go to the police, to lodge a complaint. Then the police sometimes comes to us, sometimes they don't. Like, from what we understand, from the support tickets, we're saying that some people said, oh, I lodged a police complaint, then we never hear from that police about that person ever. But sometimes, a month or two later, suddenly, we hear from the authorities, and they ask for information. Now, we usually give it, if it's, sometimes if it's a foreign police, we're telling them, hey, go talk to the Australian Federal Police, because we are obligated to deal with them, and then this way we kind of have, also the Federal Police prefers it, that it goes a bit through them. But sometimes it could be like a state police, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, and they just ask for information. Now, we don't I think we can say, look, we don't want to give it to you, go get a warrant. But from what we're seeing, 99.9% of the time, these are already people that we already flagged as either we think they're scammers or people that we think were scammed. So if we can help the authorities in this 0.1% of catching the bad guys, then we're happy to help. But I think their success rate is something like that. It's not even 2%. They're getting 0 point something percent, I think. And even then, it's I don't think they're getting all the money back, or even the money back. They may be catching, the guy. But look, there was a 60 minutes.
How do the scams differ? I mean, as a scammer, how would I sit here and think to myself, right, there's Bitaroo, there's a Bitcoin exchange, it's a honeypot, I'm going to go start scamming. What are the different things you've seen?
Yeah. So look, this is what I was about to say. There was a 60 minutes interview with a scammer, and he said, we're staying away from the United States because, and from scamming Americans, because the U.S. government has overreach to everywhere in the world. So we're staying away from that. This is, by the way, when you're saying websites being closed, you're seeing FBI close them and not CIA, because according to U.S. government, if you provide services to Americans, this is a domestic issue. So this why, for example, Bitaroo does not accept American citizens, because we don't want later to the U.S. government to say, oh, we should comply with their rules. So, and many exchanges don't accept American residents. So the scammers know that the Americans have the full force of the mighty U.S. government behind them. So they're staying away from scamming Americans. Great, good for Americans. But their favorite market target in the world are Australians. And the reason that they said it is because Australians have money and are naive. Okay, and Australia is relatively a rich country per capita, and I think the people there are generally naive, and it's just silly. I mean, we're getting people that we hear the full story later after they got scammed, because when they're getting scammed, they're completely denying it. But later we hear that somebody called them and told them some story, and that story could be that they want some money or that they need help with transferring money, and they're sometimes even sending them a bit of coin as a token that they're serious. All of this, they're telling them some story, and people believe it because their greed kicks in. Now, the saddest stories we hear are the ones that people were let's say they were scammed 3 years ago, and then suddenly they're getting an email from, as if, by the way, scammers love pretending they're UK based. So they're getting email from a UK company telling them, illegal, a law company, saying, hey, we can retrieve your scam coin, but we need a deposit of 3% first. So they get scammed with another 3%, So, and they're helping them sometimes set up a Bitaroo account and doing it. And look, it just moves. I mean, sometimes we're getting the scams. Sometimes another exchange, because we were talking among ourselves. Sometimes in the BIP group, and we're saying, yeah, we're getting hit now. We're getting a lot of fraud now. We're getting a lot of fraud now. So, and you can just see kind of the peaks are moving. Yeah, look, it's very sad, and the worst, I think on the global, or let's say on the more macro scale of it, the worst thing is that later then people, because we are trained, like the public is trained to be sheeple, right? And if something goes wrong, instead of taking responsibility, you're calling for the shepherd. So people are then turning around and blaming the banks. They're blaming the exchanges. They're blaming the government. Somebody should have stopped me. Somebody should have noticed. And then the banks become tougher on everyone. I mean, we have a bank in Australia now that blanket, stops all deposit, all withdrawals, of dollars to all exchanges in Australia, all of them. If you're with that bank, you cannot send dollars to any exchange in Australia. This is crazy, but that's what they're doing, because they're just fed up with all the scams. And the reason is that bank, because it's a bit of that scam was kind of easy going, and that bank was easy going, so scammers chose that bank and told people open account with that bank, then send money, to Bitaroo or another exchange, and then they got scammed. So that bank got hit with so many fraud and so many angry customers and so many issues, and then some people go and then complain to the regulator or to the ombudsman, and then the bank has to deal with all those things for nothing. What did they see from that guy? $2 in fees? It's so we kind of understand where the banks are coming from, and we are trying to have a dialogue with them. Unfortunately, their association refuses to talk with us. There is an association called ABNB, Australian Banking Association. They refuse to have a meeting with us. Apparently, they already know everything. There's no new information we can give them. We keep calling them out publicly, that they're refusing to talk to us, and they're just nah. So we do what we can, to stop those things, but eventually, this it's a part of a bigger problem. As I said, if people were trained to be sovereign, then, or let's say educated, not trained, that's a bad word, but educated to be sovereign, then I think we'll have less of those issues. But people want the nanny state to protect them. They want the bank to protect them. And then later when they get, scammed, it's somebody else's fault. I mean, they lie to us. We have videos with them, and they say, nobody's assisting me. I understand that if somebody's now coaching me to lie, I will likely lose all my money. And so, it's only me doing it all by myself. And then like, okay, say, okay, we're allowing it to, we're letting the withdrawal go through. And then like a month later, they come back and say, oh, I was lied to, I was cheated. They trained me to lie. They said I have to lie. I'm like, you're an adult person. Why would you let a stranger over the phone, coach you to lie? And we're telling you, we're making you say the words. I know if I'm lying, I will lose my money. And they're still lying, So very, very annoying. But
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, I listened to that.
The joys. Yeah.
I listened to the social engineering episode that Johnseth put out there, where he was getting called a lot from these scammers that were trying to hack his Bitcoin, and it's just incredible. Like this kid that was just basically telling them how they do it and what they do, and what most. I mean, I think the most basic thing is they get hold of people's email addresses, and then just try and hack into their Gmail, and then just go through their Google Photos.
Oh.
Oh my
man.
goodness.
We started enforcing 2FA because of these issues. Like we got every couple of months we got hit by like 1,000 different IPs, all of trying like tens of thousands different credentials. Now they're trying like one each. Like so basically it's a leaked a list of credentials, and just trying to see if people use the same email and the same password on with us. And sometimes they got success. Like once in a blue moon, they got success, and that's worth it for them. Boom, they stole the person coins that they had with us. So we started enforcing 2FA, and we had 2FA with app, And then people said, oh, that's complicated. So it's okay. You can also have 2FA with email, though it's less secure because if somebody accesses your email, they already have that as well. But some of them are doing that, but at least we have more success with preventing people losing their coins that way. But yeah, look, I mean it's very disappointing to see how people are devoting their creativity to to scamming others. But there are people out there that's what they do, and if you're like if you have a success of 1 in 1,000 and that one pays you nicely, then you're like happy for a while, and then you go and scam another 1,000 people.
So let's wind back. Why on earth did you decide to start a Bitcoin exchange? I mean, what were you doing before? Like
No. This is a great story. It used to be, I think, on our website, and I think it was changed, but it was in the about page. But this actually, I think, is a great story because I used to buy and sell. I was like a manual trader, so spot trading. 2017 came, and I think I actually started only in 2018, where I know there is like a big arbitrage between exchanges. So you could buy like coin here and sell there and make like 3-5%, which was like crazy, So
was this when like the exchange in like South Korea, for example, had a complete
the kimchi arbitrage and all that, but this was in Australia. In Australia, there was like different, there was arbitrage between different exchanges.
Onshore in Australia, there was an arbitrage between exchanges in Aussie dollar.
3-5% Aussie dollars. So I would send like dollars to one exchange, send Bitcoin to another exchange, buy here, sell there, and just kept on going,
Real
and this was manual. This was like manually spot trading, crazy stuff. Today, this doesn't exist anymore. Okay.
Okay. So
exist.
Spot trading.
This was in 2018. This was 2018.
So spot trading was this something you were doing anyway? Like this was like your did you have a fiat corporate job or?
No. I was in property, and before that, I was investment manager where I did value investing that you poo-pooed on. But we could talk about that as well. But I had something like completely unrelated. I had coin, and the price shot up to 20K, late 2017, and then I think in January I noticed that like exchanges have these variants, and I said this is weird. So I said like maybe like $100 to one exchange and coin and did it, and like wow, $3 that's crazy on $100. And then I started doing it more and more. There were limits. That's when I started getting debanked, because suddenly banks are saying, oh, you're sending this money again. Yeah. Oh, I had a lot of fun. But the thing is, what happened, what the best thing that happened out of all of this is that I kind of gathered the list, and I had like this, Anon account on Twitter, and I wanted to do like a tweet storm of, like the shittiest things in the exchanges. And then I kind of changed that, let's be positive, and started building. I was saying, okay, my dream exchange would be this, this bit from that exchange, this bit from that exchange, this bit that no exchange has, this bit. So I kind of compiled the whole list of my dream exchange, and I wanted to tweet it, in a very long tweet. There was no long form tweets then, that we're talking about 2018, 2019 at the latest. And I think it was 2018 still, yeah, because then I showed it to a mate of mine, and he said, "Oh, I have somebody to introduce you." And he introduced me to the person that later became the CTO. So basically, we started the dream exchange I had in mind. Now that exchange was just the trade page. Now we kind of envisioned this for traders like me. Like amateur traders just wanting to buy and sell Bitcoin, and then people came saying, "Oh, can we also have a buy?" And it took us forever to launch it. Forever. We launched exactly on the halving. Eventually, we launched exactly on the halving of 2020, like on the block. It was like 3 a.m. I was up. I woke him up. He pushed the button, and we were live on the block of the 2020 halving. So we launched in I think it was April, May. I think April 2020, and basically then we launched and people like loved it, and then they said, "Oh, this is like, I'm overwhelmed with the trade page. Can we also have a buy page, like express buy?" So okay, so we designed an express buy page. And then we said, "Oh, can I also have an app?" And like, okay, so we started having an app, and so a lot of the things came basically from our users. That's what they wanted, and that's what we delivered. At some point, we're still doing that. Look, for us, not everyone, but like most people on the team are also involved in the support, as far as they watch it at least, or they're getting the tickets that are important to them, because we learned a lot from the support tickets, not only the bugs and the issues, but also the ideas and what people want. And like, if we're getting the same question again, then okay, something needs to change. Either the UX or the UI or the FAQ, something needs to change. In order for to have less support tickets about it, or people like ask for the same thing. Express sell. For years we didn't have an express sell, because why would you sell? Most of our users are not selling. But you know what? As price goes up, suddenly people want to express sell. They want to hit a button and sell it now. They don't want to now go to the trade page, put a limit order. They found the whole thing overwhelming. For me, it's like super simple. For them, it's overwhelming. So that's basically why we opened an exchange, because there was no exchange that we felt was as good. And all the exchanges, look, we are the only full order book exchange in Australia. The rest are brokers. That's the price, take it or leave it. That's it. Like our express buy and sell. That's the price, take it or leave it. But the trade page is the full order book exchange, and we're the only ones in Australia, because it's hard to maintain it. You need market makers, you need liquidity, you need volume, and it's kind of a chicken and an egg, because if there's no liquidity and there's no volume, you're not going to have market makers. But why would you have market makers if there are no those things? So it's a bit of chicken and the egg, but we're very fortunate to have good relationships with a couple of market makers, and they commit to always having a liquidity and always being there, and the volume is up to our users. They don't generate volume. Those market makers just generate the liquidity, and that's why the volume sometimes is like one coin for 24 hours, sometimes it's 15. It just depends on the people and and what they're doing with it.
So is there an arbitrage?
Another long answer.
No, it's yes. Good. Is there still an arbitrage opportunity because you have that full order book? And no, it's
maybe. Look, maybe I'm sometimes looking a bit. I'm looking at our prices and the crypto exchanges. And
do you show the depth as well? I'm assuming on the trading page.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. So I think that the arbitrage, if it exists, it's kind of been swollen by the trading fees. I think maybe there's like 0.3, let's say, arbitrage, which is normal. That's also what you have in the in the stock market between different countries. Not so much between different in the same country, but that's because there's usually only one, except maybe in the States, but usually and a share is traded. A company is traded on one exchange in a single country, or maybe another exchange in a different country, and then there are the differences, maybe arbitrage there because of forex. And usually it's like 0.3, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, something like that. And that is okay, that is normal, but that is usually being eaten away by the trading fees, because if you're paying us 0.1 or 0.2%, then you're paying the other exchange 0.1 or 0.2, then that's it, the arbitrage is gone. So I think the arbitrage is, look, that was, irregular anomaly what happened in 2018. I don't know, maybe it was also existing in 2017. I wasn't looking at that. I think it was also because money moved slower than in Australia. I mean, you would send money to an exchange and it would arrive the next business day at best. At best. I mean, because maybe it will take 3 business days to arrive, and if it's the weekend, then of course you have to wait for for Monday to come. So the money moved way slower, and also when you withdrew money from the exchange, it would arrive, best case tomorrow, if not 3 business days. So the whole money moved slower, and I think that's what happened. Like money ran out in exchanges. Like if you're like a trader and you're like holding the order book, but your money ran out, now you have to wait until tomorrow to refill it. So that's I think how those spreads happened. But today, money in Australia moves very, very fast. We have NPP, which was launched I think in 2020, 21 maybe, and it's usually instant. Like if I send dollars from my Aussie account to a different Australian account, it's usually like within a minute, if not a few seconds. I think you have something similar in the UK, fast payments. So now money moves way faster. So I think those arbitrages don't happen anymore. I mean, maybe they do happen, like if there's a crazy volatility, maybe. I know that once or twice, our good followers on Twitter shamed us by showing that we had like a huge spread or our price was out of whack, but by the time I looked at it, it wasn't already sorted. So I'm guessing one of the market makers ran out of money, and by the time he sent it, it took him maybe like a few minutes to sort it. And during that time, there was this spread. But I haven't seen live like a huge spread or huge arbitrage between us and different exchanges. I know that every time it's put to a test, many times Bitaroo is the best. You get like the most sats for your buck. We introduced recently even batch withdrawals for 1,000 sats. You can withdraw, your coin on chain once a day. So basically, we're batching everyone at 6:15, Queensland time. You can choose why. You can guess why we chose 6:15 as our preferred time. But
American
yeah,
Huddle
6:15.
would, yeah, you would know why.
Yeah, it all exactly. So we have that. We have Lightning. Of course, for years we were, I think, one of the top first 10 exchanges in the world to have Lightning, and that's courtesy of Wallet of Satoshis, which is also an Australian company and a good friend. So thanks to them, we had and still have Lightning. So yeah, we do what we can, and I'm very happy. As I said, like now we are also people can just like you can just like go to your app store now and just download Bitaroo and start using it immediately, without registering your email, completely KYC free, and later you can choose set to register your email and so on. And soon we hope to also provide buy and sell services in most of those countries, if not all of them. But
So
yeah, look, once you start,
is it available across Europe and UK?
it's available in the wallet form, in the KYC, like send receive. That is available, except France. France has extra regulatory burden that we decided to not go there. But all of Europe, UK, it's there. We stayed away from the States, of course, because of the US government. But we're available in Canada, Latin America, Africa. Stayed away from China because again, political issues there. But 170 or 171 countries, you can just go to their app stores now and download and send and receive Bitcoin instantly on chain or Lightning. The only thing that I think that it works only for Australians is the batch. So you have to be verified, to do the batch thing. But all the rest, and buying, and of course, and everything to do with dollars, everything to do with the fiat, it's their money, their rules, which is again something, I'm sorry, I'm just like ranting on and on, but part of the reason that we did this, we launched this, is because we know where this is going. The governments around the world are now changing their narrative, and now they're saying, look, if Bitaroo is transferring Bitcoin, sending and receiving Bitcoin means that we are actually transferring value between different entities. Therefore, we need to KYC them. So they want all of the Bitcoin wallets around the world to be KYC. all of them, unless they are self-custodial. They're still they're still not touching self-custodial there, but they're now touching all the custodians, and custodians should be KYC. And we are like this. We completely disagree with that. So this is not in effect yet. So that actually got us to launch as quick as possible, because we wanted to have skin in this game. We want to suffer if this silly rule will pass. But this is where they're going. And when we met with them, I told them, look, basically I told them you can just go to the App Store and download dozens of Bitcoin wallets now. So you're not stopping anything. You're just gonna stop the Australians one from doing it, and you're gonna take the tax revenue to another country. So you just shot yourself in the leg. What are we doing here? And they said, oh no, don't worry. This is a globally coordinated effort. So yeah, so I'm not worried at all now. I'm relieved.
Yeah.
So so this is what's happening. Look, I mean, there's a lot of dark, what we perceive as dark forces out there that are trying to control and to regulate the hell out of all of us. And I think of course Samurai is a great example. What's happening there. Telegram founder, what happened there, and he complied, of course. They put him in jail. The first thing he said when he got out is on bail, he said, oh, we're gonna share more information with the governments, of course. So that's what they're doing. Ross, which we hope and pray that Trump will free today, is a great example. First man through the door got shot. With 2 life sentences with no parole. Crazy. So I think this is where it's going, and I think Basil King said it, that like all that evil needs, is for good men to do nothing. Maybe somebody else said it, but it's a great saying, and I agree with that. So I think we all need to do what we can. In different ways. I mean, again, I think just buying Bitcoin and self-custody is part of the good fight. That's how I started with Bitcoin. Yeah, that's how I started. That's what I did. I thought it's a donation for the good fight. Maybe it will go to zero. When I started. And I'm happy that it's going the other direction. But it could have. But that was the idea. So I think we all do that, and that's the most important thing that we can do. And sooner or later we will win. I mean, it's just a matter of time and how much suffering.
there are dark forces at play, and I know a lot of people they kind of roll their eyes at me when I start talking about this kind of stuff. But when you've read the books of how this was all put together, like The Secrets of the Federal Reserve is one perfect example. I mean, Creature of Jekyll Island, that's one thing. But The Secrets of the Federal Reserve goes way deeper, and incredibly well researched. Even using minutes, you're reading minutes from congressional meetings that happened between 1910 and 1913, leading up to the act itself, and you get to see the people that were standing up on the floor opposing this idea. And to read that stuff is absolutely incredible. It's like you're taken back in time. And when you truly understand, and this is the thing, to come all the way back to the beginning of the conversation where you were talking about, meeting the policymakers, meeting Ostrak and this, that, and the other thing. And these people, they're just trying to, that they want to see a better world. The difference between us and them is that we understand what money is. They don't. And we understand how important money is and how money is used as a social engineering tool. And if the only way you can break free from the social engineering is by exiting the system. And this is, and another thing, I hate all of the hoo-ha around politics and all of that kind of stuff. And, your vote matters. Well, the full part of that meme, which, the small print is your vote matters to them.
If it's 50-50. Oh, yeah.
If it's 50-50 as well, but it matters to them. It really matters to them. They need to push you into the voting booths, because if you didn't, then they can't socially engineer you. So when we opt out and we talk about being sovereign individuals, yes, we got the sovereign money, but now we need the sovereign mindset too. And we've got to stop validating these parasites' existence, because look what happens. You simp for a politician, and he launches a fucking shitcoin the day before he's going to be inaugurated. I mean, like, goodness me, like, we've just validated that. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, but yeah. So that is the stark difference. Having the knowledge of what money is, how it's affected our species anthropologically,
Mm.
and how it got captured and how we've been captured into it is the stark difference. But and this is why that meme "few" is so perfect, because even like you said, even Bitcoiners. No, you made the difference. There are Bitcoiners and there are people that buy Bitcoin, and you see this at the
Yeah.
conferences. And I love meeting as many people as I possibly can at the conferences. And then you see, oh shit, there's 1,000 people here, and there's probably 100 max that are the few that
Yeah.
really truly understand. Everyone's on their own journey, and they will get there in the end, I hope. But the people that are sitting in these institutions, making the laws and the regulations and the policies and the acts and the bills and goodness knows what else they decide to call them, they don't know. They literally don't know what money is. And that educate. When did that click for you on your own journey? Because obviously you're spot trading and whatever else, and this is just for the, you're there for the lols and the mad fiat gains. And then before you know it, you're starting your own exchange. But there must have been a penny
Yeah.
drop moments like, shit, I'm not here to degen. I'm here for the ideology, like you said. That's the difference between a
Yeah.
Bitcoin exchange and a shitcoin casino.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I want to say, I mean, just touching on what you said, I mean, there is a beautiful saying that says, like, the more you know, the crazier you sound. And I think that's true a lot, for talking about monetary, system and all those things, because we sound like crazy people to them.
Yeah.
And one of the good things I think that's coming out, as I said, like, with those meetings with Ostrag, is that they understand we are not just the crazy people that they see on Twitter. There is like some, method or some, logic to our madness. Look, for me, I mean, it actually did start from an ideology. I bought my first coin, in 2013, and it was a donation for the good fight. I thought maybe it will, go down to zero. I heard first about Bitcoin, when it was, I think, when it crashed from $16 to $2.
Right.
And then I heard again when it was 100, and that's when I started buying. But I was very poor then, and of course I lost it in a boating accident anyway. But I was very poor then, and I was a hippie, so, like, I put like $50 or whatever I could, and I sent to Mount Gox.
But was this
And
was this
it,
because a friend kept telling you about it, or you just kept
no,
seeing
no, no.
random
I just found it. I
articles?
just found it online. I mean, I look very cool, but I'm a geek inside. Like, I basically just like found it online, and I was just like, internet money, magic internet money,
Yeah.
and that's all I knew about it, really. And the only thing I knew is that it's 21 million, and not to leave it on the exchange. That's pretty much the only thing I knew. So what I did, I sent the money to Mt. Gox. Now, Mt. Gox back then had an Australian bank account. Then later it was shut down, so I had to send the money to Japan. And it took a few days to arrive there, and horrible, exchange rate. And then when it came, as soon as I got an email that I got my dollars, I immediately, smashed buy and withdrew. Okay, now there were no hardware wallets back then. I withdrew to blockchain.info, a web wallet. And it sat there until 2017. Okay, so I bought it a bit then, and I bought like every few weeks, and it was like kind of as if DCA, but not really. And as I said, and I don't regret like not buying a lot. What I do regret is that it shot up to 1,000, and I kept buying, and then it crashed to 200, and for 4 years it sat there at 200, and I bought nothing. I thought it's dead. I thought it was a good try. And once in a while I went to, I forgot the name, but there was like this news, Bitcoin news website that later became crypto news website. I forgot their name, but I went there once in a while and looked at it, and they kept talking about developments and this and that, and I was like, these guys are crazy. Like, it's dead. So and then it went up to 500. So maybe it's not dead. Oh no, it crashed again to 200. Okay, it's dead. So I didn't buy anything, for this entire time. And then 2017 came, and it shot up, and every day was like $1,000 more, 14K, 15K, 16K. It was crazy. And then I got into, into the trading because, and to my shame, I thought, oh, maybe I should just sell just to get my investment back. And then well, that's when I noticed the arbitrage. And that's when, instead of selling, I just like started trading and start buying more, because the price was crashing. I thought it's gonna be stupid to buy 20K when I could have bought it 200K, $200, not K, $200 just a couple of years ago. So I didn't buy any, but then the price started crashing, and I was like, oh, it's not going to break 10K, so I bought then. And then, oh, it's not going to break 6K, I bought then. And then, one of my best mates, he bought it 3.5K exactly at the bottom when it shot up. I've been buying since. Now with time, back then, at that time, I was into real estate. So I owned a few properties, and I did renovations and refinance, and then buy another one. It was very classic Aussie thing to do back then. And then we sold. Some of them flipped, some of them kept, some of them did subdivision, or whatever I could. And it was a lot of fun and very easy. But then banks became tougher on getting the loans, and I started noticing that maybe having all this property and taxes and issues and tenants and expenses and to fix things and property managers and all of this stuff, I could just hold more Bitcoin instead. So I started selling the properties and buying, of course, more coin with it. And then in 22, I left Australia. Basically, I haven't, I just went back there for a visit recently, but I haven't been there since. And basically, Bitcoin is the one asset that you can, take with you, and that's it. And even that, there's all this risks involved, and there's this study, you're learning how to get better and better, and how to you come to a point. I think it was Ben. Ben told me. Ben came to during COVID, we used to have virtual reality meetups. In virtual reality space, and Ben. I'm sorry, I forgot his last name, but Ben.
Ben Howard, do you think
you may? Huh? Who?
Ben Howard?
No, Ben. He's now involved with these points of sale stuff.
Oh,
Musket.
yeah, Ben Duval, Musket.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So he came to one of our VR meetings, and he told us he came to tell us the story of how it is living 100% on Bitcoin. Because I don't. I still have dollars, but he doesn't.
Yeah,
and
he
told us
uses
how he
Lounge
does
of Satoshi, right? I've seen his presentation about how he uses Lounge of Satoshi to link his Bitcoin spending and this, and he's hacked the whole thing. Yeah, he's a ninja.
Yeah, I like that you call it lounge, but the name is living room. Yes, living room.
Right, living room.
It's nice, nice that you call it lounge. That's nice. So he did that, but more interesting for me was his setup, and that's the setup I follow. And he said, look, Lightning is like cash in your real life wallet. If you lose it, it's a shame, but whatever. You'll survive. Then you have the checking account, which is a single sig. And then you have the savings account, which is like a multi-sig. And then you have the wealth, which is geographically dispersed, that even if somebody comes and beats the shit out of you, you can still not give it to them. So that is what I follow, and I think that is a great way to look at things, because many people, they have one wallet and that's it. And I think that this is way better. And that's what I do, and that's what that's also with Bitaroo. We have this mindset that even if they come at me, they cannot reach the coins. Because this is, I think, the main risk. If I could remain anon, I would have. I think that if you're an anon, stay an anon. I think it's better. But some of us cannot be anons, and in that case, we do what we can publicly. So it was never for me. I think the trading was just kind of wow, that's crazy. And actually, I was thinking about what kind of value do I bring to the world by trading, Bitcoin, by and what I did, what I said, okay, I'm gonna at least 10% of the profits gonna buy more sats with it, and with at least 10% of the profits, I'm gonna donate to Bitcoin worthy causes like developers or so on, and that morphed later into the Bitcoin Moon Fund. So I think overall it was for me, it was never just about the mad fiat gains, as you called it. I'm much more happy saying that and knowing that every day I have more sats than yesterday. Every day, although I use sats, I spend them and I buy with them whatever I can. But every day I have more, because my DCAs are just running there, and when they run out, I just send more money in, and that's it. So I think, as I said, for the next few years, I just don't see myself stop buying unless something goes terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah.
like no
Well,
more income.
you touched a little bit earlier on. We'll wrap it up after this one, but you
Sure.
probably have insights on it because of your seat at the head of an exchange, derivatives. And this is something that I think people really need to kind of take note of, because now this is going to become such a huge market because we have the ETFs and now we have options on the ETFs, and option being a derivative of the spot price. And this is going to be something, this will be a particular area where the institution, like Wall Street, this is going to become huge, I think, 2025, 2026. They're going to be using the options markets, which are layered on top of the ETF market. So you got paper Bitcoin on top of paper Bitcoin. Now,
Yeah.
the swing in prices we're going to see are going to be absolutely crazy. And they will be manipulated a lot of the time, because if you've got an institution sitting there with a very big order on a specific expiry date, and that is getting close, and they need the spot price to be at a certain point by that date, then they'll do whatever they can in the spot market to drive the price up or down. So please, people, you have to tune out of the noise. And yeah, if it goes up, great, you're going to feel like a hero, but it will soon come back down. There will be a real price in there somewhere that is oscillating around. And when it dumps, and again, this is an easiest way for you to lose your Bitcoin, because it might skyrocket. And if you don't have the conviction, you're going to sell. It might dump. And if you don't have the conviction, you're going to sell. Either way, you are relieving yourself of Bitcoin, of Satoshis. That is never a good position to be in long term.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, I think 99% of the people should not trade. I think that there is a lot of noise. I mean, there's always been manipulation in all markets. I think that will continue. We're going to see it, in Bitcoin. We see it probably now already in Bitcoin, but we're going to see it more and more. I think, look, it's a matter of education. I think the more you know about Bitcoin, the more you get it. Thank God that there are books, about it, and there are courses, and many of them are free today, online. It's very easy to learn more about Bitcoin. I don't even tell people to buy Bitcoin. For years, I don't tell people to buy Bitcoin. I tell them learn Bitcoin. I think that's way more important, because I know people that are bought Bitcoin because I bought it, and they're waiting for a queue for me to sell it. And I'm like, okay, see you at 76 million, like it's not going to happen, right? In my mind, I'm never going to sell. I'm going to borrow against it, because like if a bank, think of a bank. Banks are lending. They're making the money from lending money, that's where they're making the money from loans. So, what's better for a bank? To give $1 million loan for me to buy a house that if I fail on payments, they will have to evict me, which is, takes a while and bad publicity and kicking a family to the curb and all that, and then fire sell it, or just liquidate my Bitcoin 24/7, 365, no problem, no emotions. So I think banks are going to go into this, lending space. I think we're going to see it in the next few years. And by the time like I will need it, I think it will be as easier than getting a mortgage, because they don't have to do an appraisal. Just like you just give them 2 coins, they give you, I don't know, 1 coin or a bit more, 50-60% LVR, loan value ratio in dollars, and you just like pay off, the interest, and either they liquidate it if you need to, or you return it, whatever, and it's all done automatically. I think this is coming. It's available today, as we know, with fintech companies, but it's very high. It's like 13%, per annum. It's very, very high. Or you get like stable coins that you need now to send them across, but it's a bit harder now. I think it will be with banks. So I think that will come. So I think I'm just going back to, I think if people will learn more about Bitcoin, they will hold it, through thick and thin. And I think, Friar Haas, on Twitter used to talk a lot about DCA. And I think the DCA army is super, super important. That provides the floor also for Bitaroo, because, our DCAers, it doesn't matter if there's action or not. They just keep buying X amount of sats, or dollars, volume every day. And that's super important also for them and also for us. And it just takes all the emotion out of it. You're just saying, look, I want to buy, I don't know, you can put aside X dollars a month, just like buying that much of Bitcoin. If the price goes down, you're happy because you got more sats for your buck. If the price goes up, you're happy because your net worth went up. So either way, you're happy, So for DCA, I think is the right thing for most people, and trading is like maybe for like 1% of the people that are really into it, and ideally somebody already like traded before, and understand risk. And even some of my friends, and I'm happy to just finish with that, but like some friends that want to go into trading because think, oh, the price is now low and it will shoot up, let's say once Trump is elected, and then it will go down. I said, look, you want to do it, fine, but just like pre-allocate an amount. Say, okay, I'm going to put, I don't know, $5,000 into this game, and that's it. Like going to the casino, And if you double your money, great. If you lose it, then okay. But like, don't just like mix your investment stack with your trading stack. Keep them separate, and then this way, you actually measure what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, shout out to Fryer. I miss him on Twitter, unless I've seen him. Is he still there? I don't know. I don't see his tweets anymore.
Well, his account got banned, and then he opened a new account, and I think that account for some reason didn't get like a lot of followers, and I think he just got like tired with Twitter, and he left. But yeah, I see sometimes, and on Telegram, and I even met him one time. I met him in real life in Brisbane. That was great. But I'm happy to send him your regards.
Yeah, please do. Big shout out to Fry. He did such great work with, he was educating people about dollar cost averaging. It wasn't just like beating the drum. He would do long form threads. He come on the podcast and talked about it. He was very open about his own journey and how it affected him. And so, yeah, big love for Fryer. All right, final question.
The reason. He's the reason. You just remind me. I forgot, but I knew that he's the reason that Bitaroo launched with DCA. Because we were ready to launch without DCA, to start the beta without it, but he was hammering that point so hard. I told the CEO, we have to have DCA. They're gonna kill us if we launch without DCA. So he's the reason that and I think we were like one of the only exchanges in Australia that had DCA at the time. So that definitely big love to Fryer, and I'm sure he'll be happy to see us. Talking and remembering him, because he thought that like everyone forgot that he ever existed, but that's not true.
No, definitely not true. Definitely not true. Yes. All right, mate. Final question. If you had one last orange pill left to give to somebody, who would you give it to and why?
Wow. That's a very good question. Who would you give it to?
No reversos.
I know, but trying to buy time. Yeah, look, I mean, I would probably give it, to somebody deep in the fiat system, because they could affect change. So I think like, and as I said, like we're seeing that in Austria. I mean, there's this one guy that, that I think he's very against the travel rule, and I think he's delaying it. And that's why Australia has, no travel rule to date, and will have only when the deadline, comes very, very close. So I think like having one guy in the right place, is important. Of course, these days we could think, oh, it could have been Trump, or it could be Elon Musk, or something like that. Maybe it could be somebody like behind the curtains, somebody, in fast, somebody like deep in the fiat, where if he's becoming a Bitcoiner, he will affect, the change that, that we want to see sooner rather than later. Look, we're all happy to be patient. I think, we have like low time preference. We're happy to be patient, but I think, we want it also to moon, in our lifetime. We don't want it to moon like, in 200 years from now. So I think that, look, and it is happening, so whether I orange pilled the right guy or not, worst, I think best case, we're like, moving the timeline a few years forward. Worst case, it's a few years more. I think that, I mean, I remember when the iPhone celebrated 10 years, and we're like looking and saying, no way, there was no iPhone 10 years ago. Like you don't comprehend. There were no smartphones 10 years ago. So I think like in 10 years, like we're going to look like that at AI, and we're going to look at that like that at Bitcoin. Like no way, it was 0.1 mil, 10 years ago. No way. So I think it's going to be like that also, in 10 years. And I think it's just, the longer the price is lower, then more sats for us. Great, more distribution will be to the plebs, instead of the big corporate companies gulping them all, as they do and want. I mean, those that understand it. I mean, Sailor is a great example. He started with 250 million. Now he's at like what 8 billion there. And now he just wants more and more. Yep. So I think those that understand know that we just want more and more.
Yep, he's just
Yeah,
getting started, and more
exactly.
corporations coming out now and following that play. So
Of course.
yeah, 2025 is going to be a year of rocket fuel. Right,
Let's fucking
where can
go.
people find you? What's the best place to interact with you? So I can just put that in the show notes, and people can reach out if they want to carry on the conversation and learn more about Bitaroo.
Sure, probably. Sure. Thank you very much. I'm most active on Twitter. I think my handle there is Ethan Bitcoin. Surprise, surprise. And of course, Bitaroo, the website is bitaroo.com.au. You can just download the Bitaroo app from your favorite app store or Google Play. Yeah, I think these are the. I'm also available on Telegram, but to a lesser degree. So probably Twitter would be good. And then, if it's legit, then I move people usually to Telegram. Because Telegram is, you cannot know, people starting hi, I immediately block them. It's like bye.
Hi,
That's how
darling.
scammers start. Hi, yeah.
Hi, darling.
It's
How's
not
your
that they say hi,
crypto?
Ethan. They're like, okay, bye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. All right, mate.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and everything
Thank
you're
you.
doing. And I'll look forward to catching up with you at one of the conferences this year at some stage.
Same, same. Looking forward to it. Beers on me.
All right, excellent. I'll hold you to it.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Looking forward. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.